This is the Real Mom Hub.
Keep listening for relatable content.
Yeah, well, especially when it's for sure. I think that's healthy. I think that's a healthy choice.
Okay. So we're talking about transitions today, but I think we need to set the scene and talk about sort of where we were at, like right before these major transitions that you and I are both going through in this moment.
Yeah.
We're going through some major change, but we obviously have grown up together and talked so much. So I think there's going to be some holes for our audience if we don't share what was happening before these major life changes and why are these earth shattering for us right now.
I was just going to say, I feel like your last state of constancy was undergrad.
Yeah.
So how far back do we want to go for your transition phase?
I mean, let's be honest, like motherhood started pretty quickly after undergrad. Like there was only a year in between. Granted, I took a long time like I was in school for 5.5 years. But that was really consistent by 5.5 years in. I had my undergrad shtick down.
Yeah.
Someone just reminded me the winter of 2018, because I was still in school. It was this epic winter, like so much snow in Wisconsin. And I think I reached my peak of just like living the best life when my roommates and I pulled out our snowshoes and our cross country skis and we skied down the road. Like there was so much snow that the plows gave up. I mean, it was everywhere. And for 2 days, classes were canceled, couldn't get to work. We skied down the road to our favorite bar. Like I have pictures of my friends holding their snowshoes and their hats and like a big pitcher of beer. It was beautiful. So yeah, I've really found my stride in undergrad and then
it's beautiful. Such a Scotty moment. I love it.
It really was. But yeah, I didn't have that much time in between. So I think, I mean, I can go back to, marriage, because then we conceived a child a month later. But for you, you kind of had a chunk of pretty consistent time in Seattle. So maybe just fill us in. How about like the year that you decided you would move back to Wisconsin, maybe start a family? Like, where were you? What was your career like? What was your lifestyle like?
Yeah, when even was that? That was probably 2022. It was a couple of years ago, year and a half. Yeah, no, yeah, it was a couple of years ago because Kieran just turned 1. I was living in downtown Seattle with my husband, and we had spent, 7 years there. Basically, we just wrapped up our 20s. We had our whole 20s in that beautiful city, that beautiful state. We grew up there together.
And can you quick share what happened when you decided to move? Because this was not a joint decision between you and your sweet husband.
Well, we were kids. I mean, what? I was 23. He was 24.
So basically, Emily said, I love you. This is a great relationship. I'm moving. You can come if you want.
Yeah. Well, we were young and it was a hard time because when I met him, I dated a lot. I loved dating. It was fun. When I met him, nothing was serious till I met him. And I think I knew right away, like, oh, shit. I always thought I was going to get married in my 30s. I was like, Emily, you're going to have a wild ride. You're going to travel. I loved me time. Like, I loved my independence. I never thought I was going to settle down. I thought I was going to get married when I was 30. I watched all my dad's sisters get married. I remember all their weddings. And I was like, oh, this is just what you do. You work and you have a life. And then, you find your person and you get married and you have kids. So I was thrilled to be in a relationship, but not with him, but, not thrilled to have met him at that point in my life. Because I was like, well, this is a problem. So I knew
this is it.
I needed to hedge some regrets for myself. And it wasn't like, see you later. It was like, we can try and make this work. I knew I needed to venture away and explore some things. And he said, yes, let's go. Let's go to Seattle. And so we drove out in his pickup truck. We gave away everything, packed some belongings up, threw it in his truck. No jobs waiting for us. It was so fun. I mean, it was such a great risk to take with him. We grew up a lot and then got engaged pretty quickly. But being kids, I also needed to make sure he was going to be a partner to me. Like, it wasn't about a relationship. I mean, we're so lucky to have really phenomenal examples of marriage, strong marriages in our life.
And you weren't even, you hadn't talked about marriage yet at that point, had you? Because, you had separate apartments. You had not.
Really funny story. I guess a few months into our relationship, I don't remember this, but it sounds exactly like me, so I'm sure I said it. apparently we were getting serious, and I said to him at some point, I think we could have probably a really good marriage, really good relationship. I'm not sure. No one's ever sure, but I think we could. But I'm going to tell you, man, I have a 2 year cap, Like if I don't know that someone's the one after 2 years, like clearly it's not strong enough feelings. Like like move on. There's so many
Yeah.
people out here. If I'm not sure in a 2 year period, like
Yeah.
get out of here. So he ended up proposing 2 years to the exact date that
Oh,
we
that's so funny.
right. And he was like, "Do you know what day He was like trying to go through all the symbolism during the proposal, and I couldn't remember that I said that, but it sounds like me. So
That's so cute.
this is like deep dive. So, anyways, we had a really great time in Seattle. I spent most of my time there in the restaurant industry, as well as the wine industry. I got to work with some really stunning wine portfolios, selling to downtown restaurants. I mean, it was just so fun. And by the time we left Seattle, I had just started a sales job in tech. So it was a very big transition, but was forward thinking, what's a job that can support more of a family lifestyle. Yeah, I wanted more PTO, I wanted the availability to work remotely, all that good stuff. And I found a great job.
Yes, you really did all your 20s like in with good wine, good food, restaurant industry, wine
Great
industry.
hikes, good
Yeah.
mountains,
Hmm.
cabin trips. Oh yeah, it's a
So you did
blast.
one major change when you were 30. Like that was a pretty huge change. And then you moved.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I mean, I think really big change when I was about 23 and then 30.
Because 23 was Seattle.
Yep.
Then 30 was Seattle, back to Wisconsin, plus a tech job that you weren't excited about, but it was really stable.
Yeah.
No wonder you had some bad vibes about Wisconsin. Huh.
I
Maybe
didn't have
we'll
bad
un-
vibes about Wisconsin.
maybe we'll
Wisconsin's
unpack
great.
that.
Way to call me out. I just really miss Washington. I would live there till I died if the rest of my family wasn't in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we moved. We moved a year and a half ago to a totally new city, and I was in my second trimester of pregnancy, really sick.
That's right.
Basically, I started this new job, get pregnant real quickly, not intentionally. Thought it was going to
Well,
take a
you
little
wanted
longer.
to start it. Like,
Yeah, we wanted to start a family, but
yeah.
I thought we were going to have issues
Mm-hmm.
conceiving. Did not.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler, all it takes is one once for some of
Mm-hmm.
us.
And then there's sweet BBK.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now let's just dive right in. That was your history. Now explain what's happening. Like, you just quit your job.
I
Like, literally
did.
just.
I did last week, yeah.
But also, so did your husband.
No, well, he's still working part-time, which is not, I mean, the income he's getting is not enough to cover our fixed costs. Let me be clear on that. Well, yeah, so we just made some choices. So I knew before I went out on a really generous maternity leave that it wasn't a good fit. This job was not a good fit for me. And I kind of assumed, I'm going to pay back the time that I need to work to pay back my mat leave, which was very, very generous from this company. And
Mat
I'm going to
leave
be
being maternity leave.
maternity leave, and then I'm going to be looking for something else. And I was very vocal. I used my words very clearly with my husband, a year ago.
That you would
It,
be done.
no, I really thought I would get a new job. I always thought I'd be a working mom, always. And I was excited about that. I've had a minimum of one, sometimes four jobs since I've been 14. I mean, I like working. I like so many things about work. I think it's good for you. I think it's healthy. I like to contribute financially to the family. I also really like nice things. And I say nice things, I do like nice clothes. I like nice things, but mostly I mean food. I like really good food. I like
Hmm.
food experiences. I like being able to travel. I like to be able to buy that plane ticket without worrying about it.
Like, in search of the food. Like, you like to travel to the vineyard where you're getting your wine.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, it's
love
that
all of
much of a
that.
love. Like, it's that deep of a.
Totally. I want to know where it comes from.
Hmm.
I love to know the process behind how you made that cheese. Yeah. I mean, that all
Hmm.
costs money, and those are values I'd love to experience with my family, and I intend on that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, from the beginning of our marriage, it was always, oh, when we have kids, we'll have to, deal with childcare, all of this. It was never Yeah, actually, Kyle, I'm never gonna get this time back, you know? So I think I'm just done.
Okay, you're saying that with this like ridiculous, sarcastic voice, but that's actually like what you said. Like that's entirely just what happened.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get this time back. You don't want to work right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just is what happened.
Well, it is what happened, but it goes deeper than that because I think this is something I'm really interested in hearing from other moms. My negotiations with my husband go even deeper than what you just said because what started like several months ago when I went back to work, I was really grateful to go back to work when Kieran was really small and we had childcare for him in home. It was beautiful for me to be able to hop out and breastfeed him. Also, I don't like I'm not a baby person. The baby phase was really hard for me, and so it was lovely for me to hear him playing and learning new skills with somebody else who is frankly more interested in that than me. I feel fine saying that. But I don't think
But
it's something we hear a lot from moms, but that
but
felt great.
I do want to jump in and say you're making it sound a lot easier than I think you felt in the moment because I remember talking to you during that year and it just being really hard for you to be working and not be with him as I think you did want to be with him more.
I did want to be with him more 100%. I
Mhm.
also felt really great about him getting care from others
Mhm.
at the
Mhm.
same time. I was holding both
Mhm.
at that point.
And you were excited, you were energized to go to work. It wasn't like your dream job, you liked it.
No, I liked the purpose. I liked the community. I liked having conversations outside of my family and my home. All good things. It was really when he turned one and really started developing more into this human. I mean, I think his skills just started exploding. And also, we knew we had to reevaluate childcare and make some changes at the end of September this month, where I was like, it feels wrong. It feels wrong to my core, to my bones to ask somebody else to watch him, to pay somebody else to watch him. And we don't know how we're going to figure out the finances yet. I don't know how I'm going to hold on to my identity or the purpose that I like to feel outside of being a mom and a wife. But we're lucky enough to be able to figure it out. We've got a cushion and we had the conversation where we're like, okay, well, how far do we go into this cushion, which hopefully we don't have to go far at all, but we don't know, you know, until we make different changes. But back to the first negotiation. So back when I thought, oh, I'll probably just get a different job, I had to say to Kyle, I think this was probably when I was still on maternity leave, like, hey, we never talked about this. And I feel bad making this ask, but I think I need this from you. I need you to be a breadwinner until I'm done having babies. And what that meant
Mm.
to me was not that I wasn't going to work, but hey, I need you to be focused on career growth. I need you to be focused on getting that raise, on getting that promotion. Because after this, after being so sick when I was pregnant and having the traumatic birth experience that I did with our first, I cannot put energy into mothering and being well and being a go getter.
Yeah, it's such a different mindset.
Which part?
Just being a go getter in your career versus taking care of yourself as a
Yes.
mother.
Yes.
I mean, to hold those things, I don't know how women do it. And I see some that do, and I don't know how because there's only so much brain space.
There is. And I think
For
it's,
my brain, at least.
yeah, I was also in a quota bearing role,
Mhm.
which I think for me, that would, I did not hold both well, the hunter killer mentality and nurture was really difficult for me to do at the same time. So my first negotiation
Mhm.
was, Kyle, basically I'm going to do as much as I can, but this is on you. And then when we put the kids in school, I will go ham and be more of an equal breadwinner with you. But
Mm.
that was the first conversation after becoming a mom where I was like, never in my wildest dreams did I think I would
Because
have to
you
make that
had
ask of him.
I mean, I think you always knew you wanted to be a pretty involved mom, but I remember conversations where you had talked about how great he would be at being a stay-at-home dad, which may still happen later, but like that was a very real thing that was I think a bit of a possibility before you had kids.
I think it still is. So I have a few goals for this upcoming time where I'm not working a traditional job. There are a few side hustles I'm really excited about launching. And my goal, honestly, is to be able to create enough momentum and space for him to take more time when they're done
Mm.
breastfeeding. Because we want to try it
Mhm.
for baby number two. Like that's another piece of this too. I want the baby phase is hard. I want them all lumped pretty quickly together so we
Mhm.
can just have that be one chapter and not drawn out. And I always thought it would be equal when the baby came out, then it would be equal parenting. I had postpartum feels and problems. I mean, I think I'm still coming out of it, but at least
Mhm.
pretty hard for 8 months. Breastfeeding will never be equal, and I feel strongly about breastfeeding.
Mhm.
So I need to do less right now. And my goal right now is, and I'll put this on the record, I would love for him to do less when we're through that.
So when you do your goal setting, I think you're just in the hot seat for a little bit here.
Okay.
When you do your goal setting, like yours are so concrete.
What do you mean?
You'll say like, well, Kyle and I had a goal setting night. Like, what does that look like to you? What's your process for we're having this goal setting night? Do you make a spreadsheet? I just feel like you are so goal oriented in a way that's like, yep, we're going to create a goal and then we're going to achieve, which sounds so simple, but it's not when there's so many twists and turns in your life. So I guess what gives you the confidence to say like, we're really going to set this goal and we're going to stick to it? And how do you get in the right mindset to create those goals that you know are like a 5 year plan? It's high stakes to sit down one night and be like, this is our 5 year plan. Because I think you stick to them pretty firmly. Do you know what I'm
We
saying?
Yeah, we do stick to them mostly. We've missed some financial goals for sure. We've also surprised ourselves with others. I think it's more, and I will say I'm a very fluid person. The plan changes
Mm-hmm.
often. So it's not like we're locked in. For me, it's not, you asked me like what gives me the confidence. It's not confidence. It's a non-negotiable for me because it gives me reassurance not that we're going to make the goal, but that we're aligned. So I call for
Mm.
a goal setting session. That what I will say, I will call it a goal setting session, but it's really, are we aligned? I need to know where you're at on these things. And so we'll usually come up with prompts. Usually I'm the one who calls the goal setting, and it's things that I want his candid thoughts on. And so I'll set the prompts. What do you think is reasonable? What is your dream for X, Y, and Z? I'll ask specifics around lifestyle. What does this lifestyle item look like for you? And then we'll
Mm-hmm.
write them out separately. And then we'll talk about each one together.
I feel like
But
I need
that,
to write these down because that's such an easy, like, it just simplifies the process. I think I get overwhelmed. Like, Kevin and I have tried to do that, and I just feel the overwhelm of those decisions. And then I do think it's a confidence game because I'm like, are we capable of this? It's really
mm,
hard for me to say, is this a reasonable goal? In education world, I think in a lot of different spheres, they call it SMART goals. Like, is this specific, measurable, attainable?
oh,
What's the R? I
interesting.
don't remember what R is.
I don't get that concrete about it because I like there to be the possibility for change. I like to be fluid. Again, it's more value alignment. And I'll look back on one of our sessions and maybe I'll just create a little sheet that we can
Mm-hmm.
link in this episode.
No, I'd like that actually for myself.
I think we started doing it because I can just the gap there's a very short gap for me or maybe none at all between what my brain is doing and what comes out of my mouth, which can be a
That's
problem.
correct.
Yeah. Kyle is a very long processor. But when you have the different questions you're both responding to, that gave him equal space. It gave him processing
Mm.
time. So then I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sitting there wondering if I was just influencing his answer.
Because O'Learys have a tendency to be a bit overbearing.
You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Like we just had one of those instances over lunch that we're gonna have to revisit because I had to get ready for us to record.
Good.
We are mid conversation, and I think I was being like, it got to the point where Kevin was like, "So what I'm hearing is you don't actually want to talk about this."
Sweet Kevin. Yeah. So this is the first time I will say we did not goal set. I was like, I'm so unhappy. This needs to change.
Mm,
And I would rather I'm in a free fall right now is what I'm feeling. So there's a lot of anxiety attached to it, but I think
yeah.
all of the right reasons are there,
Mm-hmm.
which means we're just gonna have to get scrappy and figure it out. So there's no goal setting at all. There
Mm-hmm.
is for you and me and for some other projects, but not for Kyle and me. We're just doing our best until January.
You're doing the marriage kids thing a bit in reverse of what Kevin and my experience is, and a lot of other young parents, right? Like you're saying you're having to get scrappy, and you were really scrappy in your careers when you first moved to Seattle. But then you had a number of years that were not really scrappy anymore. Like you had a
No, we
good
had
whole,
so much fun.
yeah, like you were hustling for sure, but you weren't, it was not scrappy. And it's just funny that you are going backwards in that. Not in a negative way of going backwards, just like your trajectory is just a lot different than ours is, and that our parent, mom and dad's was. And I think a lot of marriages that we've really looked up to.
Yes, I think you're right. And I'm so grateful for those years. We just had the
Mhm.
best time and we learned so much and we could just sink a lot of time and resource and energy into each other. But it is interesting because most of our friends are just starting to have kids in their mid 30s, late 30s, and they're not so far taking pauses. It's
In
basically
their
like they
careers.
have their same lifestyle, but with a kid. Versus for us right now, I'm just anticipating that we kind of go into hibernation season till we figure these things out.
Yeah, but
I
you do
mean,
need to leave your house.
I meant financially.
Okay.
No, that's part of the reason I'm so excited to socialize baby K and go to all the classes. Um, Thank you. Yeah, I know
You
when
do
I was
need to take
really
him to a swing
postpartum,
occasionally.
yeah, didn't want to leave my couch, but yeah. No, that's part of the goal. Yeah, but I will say we did not goal set, we fear set. Like we took a drive and I was like, okay, let's write down everything that terrifies you about me quitting my
Mm.
job before I quit my job. Like let's just get all of our fear out on the paper.
Mhm.
And then you could go through and address, okay, well, there's a solution to that. Okay, well, if that
Mm.
happens, there's a solution to that. And one of
Mm.
my biggest fears is someone in their 30s losing social status because we've built a life around a lot of activities that cost money.
Yeah.
Social status, maintaining relationships on the other side of the country that are a plane ride away.
Mhm. And then even
Um,
when you go visit those people, like you're used to a certain, that's intense.
yeah, lots of things. I will say
So,
what was shocking to me during the fear setting exercise is I was more terrified of staying in my job and missing out on the opportunity to do more,
mhm.
to do work that aligned with my life chapter and what was important to me.
When you mentioned the childcare piece, I just want to go back to you mentioned that you didn't want to pay. It just felt wrong in your core to pay for childcare for Kieran.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it will, like having, grandparents watch him? Like, would you feel good about doing that in a scheduled basis? Or does that still feel wrong?
It does not feel wrong. I'm
Okay.
so grateful that Kyle's mom does want to watch him often. I really
Mm-hmm.
hope that continues. I
Okay.
feel
So like the village mindset of just like pitching in, communal family, taking care of this child, that feels good.
that feels
It's
great.
the like stranger piece for you.
Yeah, I was like, get
Yeah.
out of here. I don't want a stranger taking care of my kid.
Mm-hmm.
And like paying that person a salary and then knowing that, most of my additional salary, like, yes, we would go towards savings and education and really important things and maybe benefits, but I'm just like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, I'm really excited to put him in like a Montessori situation. We will find him when he's a little older. I'm really excited to have him in a classroom full of his peers
Mm-hmm.
and other teachers who are strangers to me. Let's reverse the hot seat. We
Okay.
just waded through my mess for long
I don't know
enough.
if I was done with my. We might have to go back, but okay,
Okay, so we've wrapped on Emily's hot seat.
for now.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
TBD, it will be unraveling. But you did the opposite. You were touching on that. You did the
Yep.
opposite. You and Kevin got married in 2020, no
Yep.
less.
2021. Yeah, 2020. Yep, 2020.
2020 was
Yep.
when you had your wedding. You got knocked up a month afterwards.
Yep.
Very much not on purpose. I seem to
Correct.
recall that you were thinking like, oh, maybe like a couple years, maybe three
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, I think we said like 2 to 4
Yeah.
years post marriage would be the.
Yeah. And then your transitions have not stopped since then. So walk me
No,
through what was going on in
no.
your life when you had
Oh
Charlie.
my goodness. So Kevin took a job in his hometown, which I was very upset about. And he did ask me, and I was like, I don't want you to do it. And then he did it, which wasn't like I had not said, don't do it. It was, we were engaged when this is happening, and I said, I don't want to move, but this is up to you because this is a job, like your
Wait, I
dream
thought you
job.
weren't engaged.
Oh, yeah, maybe we weren't yet. You're
Because
right, we were not
I think we were all roasting Kevin because we all knew it was
because we were not
coming, and
engaged.
we're like, ooh.
Yeah, so we were not engaged, but we were very serious. And he did ask for my input. We talked about it a lot. I said, I don't want you to. And he did. It really was his dream job, but it was hard for me because I wanted to move somewhere super outdoorsy. I didn't really care where. Like, I was considering like super northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, or like out west. I just wanted to be crunchy, one with nature. Like those are the people that
You
I
were
just
in
love to
your
be around.
backpacking era.
I was in my backpacking era. Like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Which is funny because Kevin is not a backpacker at all. Like, we've gone one time and it was a disaster. We got hit by a drunk driver and we're in a tornado
Oh,
outside. So, I mean, literally, like,
I forgot that was tied to that one
yeah, that's the
backpack.
only time he's gone backpacking. Is there was a tornado that touched down a mile away from us the first night. Second night was nice. Oh no, it wasn't. Second night we moved sites and a Boy Scout troop came and shared our campsite. And then the way home we got hit by a drunk driver. And we
Bless.
couldn't stop at the brewery I wanted to stop at in Duluth because Minnesota doesn't sell beer on Sundays. But there was still a drunk driver that hit us.
Mm.
That was in Wisconsin. But he was like up for the adventure until this dream job came along. Okay, so we moved back to his hometown. Well, he moves. I was student teaching. Then a job opened up for me mid year, which is not normal for teaching, 10 minutes away from his job. So it just made sense for me to take the job, but I was really unhappy.
And
Like,
what are your jobs at this point?
so we're both choir teachers at this point, and he was in this high school program that was already super successful, tons of kids, great built up program. I took a job at a teeny tiny school that I would be teaching third grade through 12th grade, and the music program was in a really bad spot. And this is also just a huge slice of humble pie for me because in college, like I was the hot shot choral student in a lot of ways. Like Kevin and I on paper, like I was getting the great student teaching placement. You know, I was directing the choirs. I was getting some really cool opportunities. Like it was, I think, pretty good for me in that way because he now has this hotshot job and I'm teaching in a rural school, third through 12th grade music. But it was also really hard for me because I'm already mad about it. So COVID hits that year. Like I start teaching January, COVID hits, and then we shut down. And I was like, thank God. Because at least I'm teaching from the comfort of my apartment and I can do this, right? And I know that's not the experience of most Americans, but we get married that summer and we have a COVID wedding, which was pretty stressful because we originally, like, our invite list before COVID was like 400 people between his parents and my parents and our friends. I mean, it was going to be a giant wedding. By the time our wedding came around, we had separate guest lists. So we had a 10-person guest list, which would not even included all of our siblings. We had like a 25-person guest list. And then we were actually quite blessed. We ended up having like 80 people in the church and then more people at the reception outside. So we have this wedding during COVID and then we get pregnant. Yeah, wow,
All
that was a lot.
before
I'm
you go
processing. I
back
think I'm still
into
processing.
your full, like all before you've had your first full year of teaching.
Correct. And I should also add, like, my student teaching placement was really hard, but it was incredible. Like, this huge program, the best teacher to mentor, actually, two of them that I could have ever asked for. I mean, just like this idyllic student teaching situation into this really, really difficult job. And then, yes, wedding, baby. I don't remember fully why I went back to the same job, but I did. I think I just realized like COVID happened. Like I did not give this a shot. Kevin's still in this great job. We're not going to move and make him change. He was ready. He was ready to move. He was encouraging me to search for a different job, but I wasn't going to do that because he really was in a great place. So, I went back to my job. Ended up I must have liked it enough that year because I felt like I wanted to stay. Like I was building up the program, I was building relationships with the kids. Gosh, I skipped over, I guess, deciding to put Charlie in daycare, but that's because it
You
just
skipped over
wasn't.
having Charlie.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, there were really no choices, it felt like. I mean, I know there were, but in the moment, it didn't feel like there was a choice. Like, we're going to have this baby, we're going to have him at the hospital with whatever resources they have because I'm new to the town. I'm pretty crunchy when it comes to childbirth. So I had dreamed of a midwife, like birth center birth, but we didn't know enough people to find someone, with word of mouth that was reliable. So that was already like, okay, we're going to have this birth the way the hospital wants to have it, and I will have as much say as I can. And it ended up actually going how I wanted. And then I just started my career, and I don't know if I like it or not. So I didn't feel like I could not work because well, also financially, like it's hard to be a single income family in 2020, right? Like, let alone 2024, but especially on a teacher salary. I mean, that just did not feel like a good way to start our family, and we still had debt. Yeah, so it just kind of felt like it had to happen that I would go to work. And so we had Charlie in May, which actually was really great because he was 4 months by the time that he started in daycare. But thankfully, Kevin's mom is in town and she offered to watch him 2 days a week. So he was in daycare Monday through Wednesday, and then with Teresa Thursday, Friday. But even with daycare, I mean, the wait lists are so long that there weren't that many choices of daycares, which was pretty horrible because we didn't grow up in daycare.
No.
I mean, most of our friends were not in daycare.
Which, literally, how?
I don't know. That's curious. Because now I think most of my friends were in daycare. Like my adult friends now, I think most of them have at least spent some time
Hmm.
in daycare. Daycare with an infant is really hard because of the hormones and the separation, at least for me. But there's really no parenting going on when they're that young. So I would go. Thankfully, my district worked with me where I took my prep and my lunch break like chunked together, and I would drive into Wausau, nurse him.
Every day.
So every day, yeah. So it was like a 15-minute drive one way. So I'd go, I'd nurse him, and then I'd like eat lunch in the car on the way back to school. I also was directing a musical. Charlie's in daycare for the first time. I'm working 60-hour weeks. It was survival mode. I mean, 1000% survival mode. Like sometimes I'd have him at rehearsal with me just because I wanted the time together. Like Kevin could have watched him, but I just needed to see my child. Like I would drive home for 20 minutes just so that I could see him before going back to rehearsal because I needed to nurse him. I mean, I had to at least hold him for, that little bit of time. So yeah, that was pretty tough, but I didn't really have enough time to fully comprehend how tough it was. But
Yeah, I'm listening to that and I'm like, that would have broken me. I would have been broken. I would have had panic attacks. I would have.
Well, I just hadn't had enough time. I mean, I left the college grind of just like being kind of a shit show but loving life, to this new life with a newborn. Like, it almost wasn't enough stability in between, I don't think, to give me like that new perspective.
You didn't have a baseline of expectation.
Yeah. No, I
You had
was
not
just
built
like,
one out intentionally.
this is a new sort of survival mode.
Yeah.
I'm now feeling tired and nauseous because of a child, not because I like had too much fun the night before. Like I'm sleep deprived, not of my own accord, but the
Right.
hustle's still the same. Like,
Absolute insanity.
yeah. And that's part of the teacher heart. Like, I know that these kids, to have the best experience, these, 100 kids that are involved in this music program, like, they needed a musical to have that experience. And my newborn could be snuggled by another person. I mean, that
This
sounds
is
kind
the
of
main
awful.
difference between you and me.
Yeah.
I'm literally like, and I respect and admire you so much for it because I cannot fathom putting those many people's that many people, but also that many layers, that many different levels of other needs ahead of your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, we've got Kevin. You're putting Kevin's professional enjoyment needs above your own,
Yep.
which influences where you live. You're also, going through all of this yourself, trying to make things better for these families, this school district, giving them the best possible
Yeah.
expectation. And at the end of the day, you're also saying, as long as my baby's fine and cared for, I'll be fine, even if I'm not the one doing the caring for, which that last piece, like any one of those for me would have been just so difficult to swallow. But that last one is so tough.
Yeah, no, it is. And I can't, like, I wish I could say that it was really graceful because when I tell my story and then talk about your admiration, it makes me sound like this hero. And I did make those choices for all those reasons, but I was miserable. Like, I was angry, I was not okay. Like,
No,
it
crying on your
wasn't
kitchen
good.
floor.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I cried on my kitchen floor a lot. I don't know why that was the spot, but it sure was. Definitely was not good, but it's what we did. And I mean, that's the hard thing for those kids that had that musical experience and, the kids that are to come. Like, it is better for them that I built up that program. But thankfully, it was a short time in our marriage. But yeah, life's full of choices, man. And I'm starting to put my own family first, but yeah, I suppose it was not my go-to the first couple of years.
Well, and it may have been partially putting yourself first too, because you had just
Mm-hmm.
invested all these resources into this degree, and you're
Yep.
clearly, it is a vocational thing for you,
Yep.
choral education. It's not just I think I expect you to be creating brilliant things in that arena 20 years down the line. It's not a passing fancy. It's clearly something that you're uniquely qualified to really excel at in terms of giving back to your community.
Yeah, and I think I also have a really hard time seeing big picture that far down the road. So people would even tell me that, like, there'll be time for that. But I was like, I just learned all these skills. I know I'm good at it. Like, I feel like I have to use these skills now and hone them, or I won't be able to use them later. And honestly, I do still think part of that may be true. You really don't learn your own style and, what matters to you as a teacher until you do it. So I think to have learned it all but not practiced it, I do think that would have been more difficult to get back into it later. Now that I've stepped back a lot, people are coming to me and asking me to do things in the choral arena or with music, and I'm in a place where I can say yes or no, and I'm grateful for that. So you're absolutely right. Like, I did feel very victim, and I did put a lot of other people first, but I was putting my own desire to use my skill set ahead of a lot of things. Which I don't think I regret that. That's the thing, like, was I a wreck? Yes. Was it easy? No. But do I regret it? I don't think so. I'm gonna be honest.
Which is great. I mean, that's how you know you're doing the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
It was for you in the
Yeah.
end. Like
Yeah.
that experience will turn out down the road to be for you, for your family.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did that crazy year. I did a second year, but Charlie was older, so it was the same situation, I suppose. He was in daycare 3 days a week, and then he was with Kevin's mom 2 days a week, but he wasn't nursing anymore, so I didn't go see him during lunch breaks as much. I will say I had an easier time, like, taking off work if I needed to and not feeling bad. And then after that year, we got pregnant with Nora, and I just knew I didn't want to do that again. So, and especially with a newborn, like, it's like you said, I mean, just the breastfeeding and there's just so many things that you're juggling to also work full time is just so incredibly hard. So, and I think the bigger piece, honestly, was that Charlie was at an age where I wanted a lot more hands on time with his parenting and his upbringing, and just, I wanted to be there because it was developmentally really important time. So I quit my job, and then I was going to just teach private lessons and still try to earn some income because we would not have been in a good place financially. But at that point, I was like, I'm willing to just be pretty broke for a little bit of time. Kevin also quit his job, but he had been teaching for 4 years. Okay, somehow this timeline works out. He was a teacher for 4 years at this school. He quit his job because he was just pouring so much into his job that he was not able to be present to us. And he knew that financially it would have been very difficult to just have his new teacher income. And I was done teaching. So he quit. He job searched like crazy. That was a wild ride. He can tell his own story, but it was quite difficult that summer. But we had Nora, and honestly, she was a really easy baby. So our careers were really difficult. The parenting thing was getting much easier, honestly, even with a newborn. So that was good. Like we were kind of more in our stride. There were still your like ridiculous days where you're just crying and there's puke on you. Like that stuff still happened. But in the grand scheme of things, we're like, okay, like this baby's okay. She sleeps more. Like, they're cute. Life's good. So work was really hard for him, but he eventually kind of figured that out. I ended up going back to my school district part time, and they did work with me pretty well. So I said, I will teach some, but I'm not teaching on Monday and Friday. If my kid's sick, I'm out. I need more money for childcare. And they granted all those things. So
Which is amazing and
it
not,
is.
I think from when I talk to our educator friends, not a story that I hear often.
No.
But at the same flip of the coin, so many people are like, oh, educators, they get summers off and, they don't work in the afternoons. Perfect way to raise a family. Hearing Kevin's story, I'm like, yeah, not so much. So,
Yeah. I mean, but also we were high school music teachers. So that's kind of it's a
yeah.
different ball game. But yeah, no, teachers, I mean, we don't have to get into that right now, but teachers are amazing. So I went back. Well, I went back half time. So I did Tuesday and Thursday was a full day, Wednesday was a half day, and then I taught some private lessons. And that was challenging, but it was a much better balance because Charlie was just with his grandma, with Teresa, and Nora. Charlie and Nora. We had Nora at this point. Kevin was in a more stable job. It was, yeah, that was better. It still was not as flexible as I wanted, though, because it's just hard to, have a sick day as a teacher, and I needed to be certain places. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I said, I really am done after this year. And thankfully, they found a great teacher to replace me, and that just made that decision a lot easier to leave. And so now I'm just juggling a lot of part time things. So it's a different kind of challenging, but it feels so much better. And I'm also working with people that I really want to work with, just like good people. I'm still in the music sphere, and they're people that really value my time as a mom. Like, I think that's the biggest factor that's made working easier is just that, like, a public school does value parents, but they're so strapped that they can't give you the same time of day. They just can't. Like, there's not enough money, there's not enough resources, parents are horrible a lot of the time. Like, there's just they can't. But now I'm working for a church, I'm working for a music conservatory, and these people all really, I think, first and foremost know that I'm a mom and value that. And so it's easy for me to say, I have to bring my kids to this meeting, or I can't do this. And they're like, great. Thank you for what you're doing.
That's incredible. What does your week look like?
So Monday, I kind of just call that my day with the kids. I have both kids home with me, and I try to figure out when they're napping. I just try to make a choice at the beginning of the week if I'm going to try to put my house together or work. So that's something I'm still figuring out. But mostly Monday is just like a home kids day. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Charlie goes to his Montessori school in the mornings. So that's a bit calmer. Nora still takes a morning nap, so I get some work done while she naps in the morning. And Charlie just loves school. So it's just a good thing overall. And then Teresa helps out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays still, because I do teach at our church school Tuesday mornings, and then I fit in some other work. And then Wednesday, same thing. I try to do my work from home. And then I'm directing a children's choir Wednesday afternoons. And then I have a couple like private lesson students scattered in there. Then Thursday night, I direct like the adult. We do rehearsals for church choir. But Kevin's home Thursday evening. And then weekends, I'm doing music when I need to. So it's kind of like all over the place. It's a new kind of stressful, but it's so flexible. And yeah, that's my week.
It's a good week.
Yeah, it
And
is.
when you just quit, were you anticipating getting more work?
Yes. The church job had kind of already lined up, which was, I mean, that's the majority of my work. And they've been really great about compensation, honestly. I mean, I'm not making a ton of money, but it's definitely really helpful thing for our budget. And like the private students, that's sort of fluid. The conservatory, the children's choir, it's not a ton of times. So yeah, I had some work lined up.
It's a lot. It's a lot to juggle still.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot to juggle still. So I'm trying to figure that out, but it just does feel good. I will say going into this, like the summer, I just kind of wasn't working and I did feel more available to other families. Like, I can make this meal, I can, let's get together, I'll cook dinner. Like, those sorts of things, just as far as my immediate community, I was more available. And I missed that because I bit off a little more than I intended to for the fall. And so I feel like not enough flexibility to really pitch in to that sort of stuff. Like this person had a baby, I want to make them dinner. Like I have every intention of doing that, and it's been a month and I still haven't brought them dinner. Like,
Hey, that's honestly probably better timing though, because everyone wants to help out in the beginning.
true. You know what?
And then
That's
it's
true.
so nice, even if the baby's 3 months old, to get a little nugget of oh, we don't have to do that tonight. How nice.
That is so true. Yeah, I should still just do that. I would say I'm very much figuring it out still. But I also need to say I'm really grateful to my friends that are reaching out and keeping us connected and saying, like, let's have a play date, or like, I'm going to come visit you, or will you come visit me? Because I don't seem to have the capacity to do that, but I need that. And I would like to get to a point in time where I'm that person.
Yeah,
but maybe it's not right now, and maybe my kids will be older, and some kids will be younger, and that can be me. But yeah, I think those are kind of markers for me, like not being able to serve others, that I may be a little busier than I should be. But that's a
sure.
good data point, as mom says.
As mom says, yeah. I'm just trying to figure out. So I've had 3 work days of being unemployed now.
That's
And
so funny.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I have several like webinar courses that I'm trying to work through just to gain knowledge, kind of pursue some curiosities. And so I've been able to schedule those during his nap time or request
Hmm.
replays. But like my bathroom needs to be cleaned. My house is a wreck.
Yeah.
And I have this whole to-do list for this podcast, for this project that I'm
Hmm.
totally just not executing to the level that I'd like. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, how? I've had 3 whole days. He's so demanding and active. I'm like, how do I do? When do I do? And
Well,
what
and
happens when
then
he chooses not to nap? Like,
you can't plan. I think that's the kicker, is like you have this, 20 minutes of time when like he's entertained, but you didn't know it was coming. So by the time you finish making a decision of what to do, like you don't have time to do it. I mean,
yes.
it's
Okay,
just,
so it's not just these are
oh
all the things
no.
that I need to be asking you because you're the family CEO and you're so efficient and you're always getting these things done. I'm forever overcomplicating it in my life. So I was like, Callie will help me out here. Same for you.
Yeah, oh, completely. Like, do you remember? Okay, we were talking about this in an episode. We were just talking about how I don't just like take time to think about deeper thoughts beyond how do I make my day happen frequently. Like, my day is really spent from like, how do I get from point A to point Z efficiently?
But something put point A to point Z in that day.
What?
Like all of us wake up in the morning
Yeah.
and our days are all full for different reasons, but usually
Yeah.
it's because we've chosen to fill them.
Yeah.
You've had to put some thought or
I
action into
do. Yeah. I
filling
say
your
that a bit
day.
tongue in cheek, I think, but I really am frequently just thinking, like, how do I make all this happen? Not like, I wonder why that bird has been going back to the feeder. No.
That's what you think? Deep. Deep thinking with Callie O'Leary. It's so funny. I want to live more in that space because for me, emotionally, like when I feel things, they're in my gut. And usually my next emotion, there'll be like extreme joy or extreme happiness. But if it's anywhere in the range of negative, I go to anger
Hmm.
or injustice. And there are more
Yeah.
like in this new space of womanhood for me, there are so many things where I'm like, are you for real? Why are we like this? Why is this like this? Why don't we talk about this more? How
Yeah.
did I not know these things about motherhood, about how life works? I mean, it's just so for me, I want to be digging into those things more. They feel really crucial now that I've had a child.
Just like the why, or
The
the
why,
what
the
are other
why behind
experiences. Yes.
everything.
Yeah, I suppose I do think contemplatively about like motherhood things.
Also, I'm pretty sure it's contemplatively. I could be wrong.
Shit.
I could be wrong.
No, you're correct. But I do think that way about like parenting decisions,
You do.
like very deep.
And you
Yeah.
did throughout your whole pregnancy. I will say I did not.
No, you
I
didn't.
at all. I just called you. I had you on speed dial. That's part of the reason why we chose this podcast because I want voices that I trust talking on these issues because I bought 20 books and read like a few chapters.
Kyle read them.
Yeah, you read that one. Yeah.
Okay. But I think you think
You read
more
them
long,
all.
yeah. You think long term.
Yeah, I'm big picture for sure.
Yeah, and I'm more like, how do I make this happen in the moment? Which is why I need that like spreadsheet goal planning thing. I just need you to
Oh.
like write it out for me because yeah, I'm really good about like A to Z for this day or even like this year. But the big picture is hard for me. But like
Huh.
yesterday I told you I couldn't think. Like I wasn't getting things done. And I truly think it was because I thought my day was going to go a certain way and then it didn't because of a variety of reasons, but it was just a very different day than I had planned. And I like
Mm,
wasn't able.
couldn't recover.
No.
Yeah, I have those. Sucks.
Yeah, it's awful. And not even like I wanted to vacuum and I couldn't. Like it was like I was supposed to sing a wedding and then I didn't have a voice, so
Oh
I
yeah,
had to
your
like
voice sounds so normal
oh
today.
yeah, it's coming back. But I had to like have someone else sing the wedding for me, but she was supposed to run a rehearsal, so like I had to run her rehearsal, but then I didn't need to be at the wedding rehearsal. Like yeah, it was just like this wild and then by the time that that was done, I was like I can do nothing. I can do nothing now. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in a survival mode a bit still, and I'd like to be moved towards our long-term goal more. I think that's a
See,
goal for
that's
me
just
this
so
year.
fun. I'm like, for me, I'm a dreamer, always have been. I live in the
Yeah.
future. So I need to come back to the present. I forget about the past, I let go of that one. But
Yeah.
future is like so fun for me. So yeah, I'm gonna make that goal setting list for you and we'll share that out with the audience too. But the other
That'd
thing
be
I'm
great.
going to, because this is my next task for myself, is I want to ask Kyle like how I can just directly support him day to day. Like what will make his
Mm.
best life happen for him. And this feels so
As
trad wife. We're having such a trad wife movement right now. I don't even really know what that means, but it
yeah, it's
feels
throwing me a bit hearing you say that.
well. I've just shifted my brain. Again, most of my professional work has been in quota bearing roles. So I'm like numbers, metrics, dollars, hit them.
Yeah.
And with this baby, I'm like, there are so many immeasurable things that are so much more worth it than that.
Yep.
So, what are those immeasurables for him? Like, what is going to make him feel like he has the best life? Because it's been a really hard year and a half for us. Like, it has been the hardest on our marriage. It has not been fun. It has been full of deep, deep joy with Kieran, but also a lot of disappointment, a lot of honestly, we were talking about this literally yesterday on our walk for our whole time in Seattle. We could wake up on any given morning, and even if it was a bad day, say, oh my God, this is the life we get to live.
Mm.
This is our life. This is the coolest.
Mm-hmm.
And we said that to each other all the time. And here in this season, we don't have that right now. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So our work now is recapturing that and making sure we're aligned on our values. So for me, if I'm not bringing in revenue right now, what other value am I providing? And I do,
And you're
this is
not
not,
saying that in a self-demeaning way. I mean, you
no, I just
know
wanted
that
to
you're
clarify. Like I don't have feelings of not enoughness about myself,
yeah.
but if he's showing up
I just
for me, it's he's showing up to a job Monday through Friday, and on the flip coin, he's not with our kid during that time.
does
So
that bother him?
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we would both love to just be with him. So because I am like we both agreed that logically it makes sense for him to focus on the career currently while I put my body through one or two more kids and then
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate. But if he's giving up time with Kieran, like how am I gonna capitalize on? I feel like that's an honor, not an honor, it's the wrong word. It's a boon that I get that I want to be able to give back with. I want him to feel like there's more value in me staying home for our life as a couple.
Not just for Kieran's sake.
Yeah.
I see. Because I think when you say that without people really understanding your relationship, like Kyle sacrifices a lot for your needs. Like, I just think I need to say that because, like, you like even simple things like I need to go do a blowout, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I'll watch Kieran for 20 minutes, or however long it takes for you to feel pretty.
I advocate for my needs easily.
Yes, you do.
I will say, I need this or I want this. And he will
Yes.
say no often. But more often than not, he said, "Oh, sure, fine, that's easy for me, whatever." He has way
Yeah.
fewer needs or desires than I do.
Yes. Yeah. I just think we need
100%.
to clarify that because when you said that originally, I was like, that is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. He's working, you're slogging at home during the day. I just think we really underestimate the working from home mom. And that's not what you're saying. I was
Oh,
just triggered right away of like,
really?
yes, I was. Like, no,
Tell me more. What triggered you? Let's go.
you underestimating how burnt out you could get and how this is going to also be really hard for you to be home with Kieran.
Oh, it's gonna be so hard,
I mean, it's
actually.
so hard. And like when you have work that's the same every day to a point and you know that you get that time to work, like I have, from 9 to 5 to get this work done uninterrupted.
Oh, such a nice feeling,
It's a very
honestly.
different feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a nice feeling. I'm really gonna miss it.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask for you to clarify, just because I think that can feel a lot easier to manage. Like, yeah.
Honestly, part of it is I'm goal oriented, and that will just give me a few more metrics to hit during the day that are
Well,
outside myself.
and something that Kevin and I, for our listeners, in a horrifying common thing that happens, Emily and I confuse our husbands' names when we're
Oh,
talking to
it's
each
so
other. It's
horrible.
like revolting.
It's gross.
So, anyways, Kevin, my husband Kevin, and I and they're not that similar. Like, there's no
No,
reason
literally just K.
besides
They start
the
with K.
K. Yeah. We really are still trying to learn from you two just on how to be in a marriage, like how to be good partners and how to make each other happy. Like, not how to, be good parents and do the right things, but like truly, I mean, you're great at that too, but how do you make each other happy every day? And so that's not our go to. So, like, that was so easy for you to say, like, how can I make Kyle's life better? Because that will also make you happier. And we just haven't found that stride yet in our marriage because it's been so much survival mode and just we're young.
Mm,
And, yeah, that's something that we just will continue to learn from you, I think, because that's hard. And it's really easy to, as Auntie Katie said, getting a pissing match about, who got less sleep and who. Like, so many things about parenting that you can compare who has it harder.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and funnily enough, like I'm pretty sure I know how to make Kyle happy more than Kyle does.
Mm.
Like I asked him what would make him feel like he was living his best life that I could do during the week for him.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately for me, I'm like, okay, these kinds of meals, setting up these kinds of social events with these kinds of people for him on this kind of schedule, doing these activities, making sure X, Y, and Z is done around the house, which I don't care about, but he does, or
Mm.
literally like 10 different sexual favors really is going to up his week. I'm not kidding. Like I can just keep listing. Or like, oh, these are the things that make Kyle feel better about his life.
Mm.
And I did. I was like, hey, I'd like you to put some thought into, what you would like me to do for our lifestyle throughout the
Mm.
day. And he was like, oh, yeah, I don't even know. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to have to really think about that. He's not always in touch with his own needs.
Yeah, I think Kevin and I both are not in touch with our own needs.
Probably. Probably. And I'm just a needy bitch over here. So
Yeah,
in touch
sometimes
and vocal.
I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, she's such a princess. Like, I
Hmm.
literally am like, why is he saying yes again? Like, like we'll be at your house. I'm like, why is he the one that has to wake up? Like,
He totally didn't wake up any of the mornings that you two were there last
no,
time.
that's
I
true. That's
did.
true. I'm just trying to think of something. Like, but you found that balance. And like, you do really think about those things for him, which makes a lot of sense. Like, your needs are maybe just more needs that we see. Like
No,
we
I'm just more
see.
needy. I'll own it.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally more needy. But if the little things are not taken care of for him regularly, he will snap.
Hmm.
And then it's just like, oh my God, it like takes a whole day for him to like sort out why he's mad, even though I know why he's mad. And then like we got to work through all his emotions. Then he's got to connect his emotions to his words, which takes even longer. And then he like sulks, and it's like this whole thing. And I'm just like, it's so inefficient. It's like way better to
Better to
just
just keep him.
keep the train moving. Like keep showering him with the small things at work, check in regularly.
So you're able to do this even in this time of transition. Like you're still really trying to keep hold of that and trying to, well, probably improve your marriage after this year of really hard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of maybe one of those, like, it's a breath of fresh air that you can now have some more brain power. Maybe not time. Like, you're not going to have more time because you're going to be taking care of a baby, toddler.
Literally just taking care of him constantly.
Yeah, but at least
There's
you'll
no
have, like,
time.
you can think about how to make your husband have an easier day while you're watching Kieran. You have the
Yes, and
brain
part of that
capacity.
is when he comes home, I'm going to be cashed and say, like, please take your son immediately, right
Yes.
now. But then maybe in that laundry list of things I need to accomplish when he's finally home and I have a minute to breathe and do the thing, some of the things on that list are still for him.
Yeah, and I will say that that is one part of our transition that's been really really tricky is because it's always this, mental load, how do we share this burden? That's always a conversation, and now it's just even more wishy-washy. Now that I'm part-time with these random spurts of like needing to be somewhere and work, and like it's gray. It's pretty gray. Roles are
Did
not clear.
Would Kevin ever want to stay home with the babies? Did you ever talk about
No,
this?
he does not.
Oh, well then, whatever. You make what? Are you kidding me?
What?
I hold a lot of guilt and self-doubt, and like this is just in my mind such a huge ask to make of Kyle, and also so
Yeah.
highly logical at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's a mixed bag. I don't feel good about it because I know he would be such a great stay-at-home dad. And I honestly, like, I do hope to at least partially retire him I mean, that's a really big goal. There's a
I
goal I'm laying
think
out right now.
I
I
could
want
actually really see that for Kevin and I later too.
giving him a little time away from work.
Yeah, like when the kids
Yeah,
are older, I think he might want to.
got it. No, Kyle would do it now.
Yeah, Kevin
I
would not do
honestly,
it now. He
I
would if he
have
had to, but would not be his first choice.
Kyle would love it. I was telling his mom this the other day. I am like, hey, it makes the most sense for me to like deal with these pregnancies and then him make sure that there's a roof over our head in this crazy season. And then I just anticipate him coming to me when Kieran's like 5 and being like, we really got to homeschool him,
And I'm going to do
which
it.
is not on my list of things I would ever like to do.
Mhm.
At which point, yeah, I'd love for him to have the option to do that while I
Mhm.
focus on generating revenue for this family.
Yeah, I think Kevin would be more like when they're like I think he'll love the activities. Like he's going to love being at the soccer games and at musical practice and like he would love to be a hands-on parent and volunteer for all of that stuff. Like he would love that.
Okay, well then you have plenty of space to ask for what you want and ask for what you need from him. You have more than enough space.
Yeah, I also need to figure out exactly what that is for myself, though. Because sometimes I think it's one thing and then that doesn't solve it. Like I just need to do
Uh,
some soul searching of what really fills my cup right now and what I need.
do you ever feel like you have a need and then you just quash it down because you don't want to inconvenience him?
Oh, yes.
What if you just didn't quash it
Honestly, it may go
for
better
like a
because
week?
for like a week.
Just try it for a week, see what
Can
happens.
you have your husband call my husband and explain that that's what's happening and then it's going to be okay? Because then I think I could.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Kyle would love to.
Like, from someone that is used to doing this. Oh,
Oh no, I actually, you think I'm a princess? I quash most of my needs. So
oh God. Imagine. Imagine. Our husbands were
no,
talking on the phone earlier. Don't know if you heard.
I didn't.
And it sounded really serious. All I heard was like, man, I'm not qualified to answer that. I really thought you were like asking for sex advice. And this is over the phone, right? So I was like, okay, first of all, it's Kyle. Like, I know that. Also, you know what Kyle called about? They were out of the right diaper size at Target.
That's incredible. Also, Kyle called me like 5 times from the store with the same questions. I'm glad he was also consulting Kev.
Well,
Oh, also,
Charlie demanded to talk to Kyle and talk him through it, and they ended up singing Happy Birthday together
honestly, I think that is best case scenario.
in the diaper aisle, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think that was exactly what needed to happen. I'm
Yep.
sure Charlie pulled him out of whatever panic he was in, solved his problem. Here's another great example of today of me being a needy bee. So Sadie and William are coming over tonight for dinner, which we haven't seen them in like 5 years
Yeah, it's
because they're
insane.
so busy. And for days now, I make this really good. I crave this sometimes. And I've never had this dish anywhere. It just lives in my brain as like something I want all these flavors together and I put them together and it's perfect. It's like my happy place. So it is duck breast marinated in like a five spice, if you can, like a Chinese five spice. It's just like crispy skin. I pan sear it, sliced really thinly, and then I make these little lettuce wraps. So it's like lettuce, rice, this amazing duck breast, and I make a really good Asian slaw with like my favorite herb combo, which is like basil, cilantro, mint. Sounds weird. It's just so good. Little fish sauce, lime. I'm gonna make like a cucumber, crushed cucumber salad with chilies. This would be a great meal. It's like a great summer meal. I haven't made it yet this summer. So I've been craving this for days. I like thawed duck breast to do it yesterday for Kyle and me, and it was just like too much because we were both in a funk.
Yeah.
Didn't do it. Doing it today for Sadie and William. He was tasked with finding like four more duck breasts, which are frozen, like from this grocery store. He
Yeah.
shows up after the like diaper gate of 2024, where Charlie, who was saying happy birthday with him, shows up to the store. They don't have duck breasts.
Oh
They're
no.
out. They're
And
out.
for you, like you could take it or leave it with the right diaper size. I was probably like, okay, we'll like put him in a maxi pad. But the
No, I
duck
was like, give him,
breasts,
no, I was
that
like, get
was
him a full.
probably a much bigger deal that they
Okay,
didn't have
so
duck
this is
breast.
what happened. He'd been to like five Targets at this point. And then he goes to the store, they don't have the duck breast. And he calls me, he's like, I'm just gonna get pork and we're gonna do gochujang. And I was
Oh,
like, no, we don't have
oh,
time for that shit. Like that takes hours. I don't like pork unless it's like, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, just come home or go to the butcher. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna get the pork. And I was like, Kyle, if you get the pork, I'm going out later to get this duck breast because it's just been on my brain. And I don't mind if you come home. Like, please come home. Like, that's fine. I will be leaving to get this thing for myself. The man walks in with duck breast.
yeah, he does. He sure does.
And that wasn't me. Like, I would have been fine if he came home. Like, I wasn't like, please go all over town to get a duck breast. It was just like, okay, thank you for trying. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I still have the need, so I will fix it for myself. I don't know.
That's marriage, folks.
That's marriage.
Okay,
So,
so Kyle's gonna call Kevin and explain that I'm gonna be asking for a lot of things over the next week and that it might be worth it.
yeah, I think you should just, if you have a need and it's possible, just ask and see how it feels. Honestly, if Kevin knows that the experiment's happening,
Oh, he'll love it. Maybe he can document.
it's a game. Like I actually think
Yeah.
he'll love it and I think you'll laugh a lot. And
No,
he can
that's
take
true.
next week.
But we also need to clarify that he. Oh, that's a good idea.
He'll have his week.
We should clarify that he can say no.
Of course he can say no. It's not about whether he does it or not. It's about you figuring out what you actually want or
Yeah.
need. It's a safe space, Kelly.
Yeah, this has been
Kyle
productive.
says no all the time, just not in front of our family.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never seen it.
No, he says no all the time. And he makes his own demands also. And often when he makes demands, they're like panicky and not connected to logic.
And like, can I be gone for 8 hours disc golfing?
Well, he knows now that he needs to usually give me a little heads up on that. But
Yeah.
I usually say yes. I don't know if I've ever said no unless there was a direct conflict that he just forgot about.
Well,
Marriage.
we'll check back in.
Sure will. So, okay, action items. I'm gonna send you our goal setting, our like
Yes,
standard
thank
goal
you.
setting combo.
Yes.
And then I'll keep you updated on what Kyle says I can do to make his life better. And maybe we'll check in with the
Mhm.
community and see if anyone else was triggered when
Yeah, you started to go trad on me and it freaked me out
I
for a
was joking
second.
about the trad. I don't really know what that means.
I don't think
The
anybody
trad
does
wife.
anymore. Like, there's like the trendy trad wife, which is very different, I think, than like an actual trad wife. And even that has, like, it's maybe that needs to be an episode because I think that's a very
What is a
convoluted
trad
concept.
wife?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I
Yep. Yep.
want to know. It's having
Yeah.
such a moment.
I do too, but I'm a little nervous to dig in. That's one of those things I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to be in the right brain space to dig in, not in a judgmental way, because I think a lot of like people that I would consider my friends are probably leaning that way, but not in the stereotypical way. So that's, yeah. It's like feels a little icky to dive in right now.
Mm, but I'm
Look,
so curious.
yeah,
We're
but
all
we
about
should.
diving into the
Okay.
mess.
Okay.
Whoop,
Okay.
whoop,
Let's keep it real. Let's keep it
Callie.
real. Yeah, your husband's name is Kyle. All right, and I'm gonna have a week of asking Kevin for my needs so that I can figure out my own needs. And I think maybe I should like write them down so that I remember what they are.
If you have capacity, that's great. Oh, maybe Kevin writes them down
That's a good
just for an
idea.
element of fun.
Yeah. And I will be PMSing, so I think this is an extra good time to
Oh,
do it.
thank God. Yes.
Have fun with your duck.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Send a picture.
Oh, I will. I sure will. All right. Love you. Bye.
You've been listening to The Real Mom Hub. Our music is by Naomi O'Leary. You can find us on social at The Real Mom Hub. We're not the authority or even very educated on the medical issues discussed. Do your own research, talk to an expert, make your own decisions, and call us if you learn anything new.
If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram, or better yet, subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't, that's fine. We can all move on. Our purpose here is community, so if we've resonated with you, tell a friend.
Thanks for listening.